Hey guys, in this video I'm going to talk about the most important thing to consider when it comes to the long-term health of your joints. When it comes to the health of your joints, what do you think is more important, strength or flexibility? I believe both are equally as important, but not to the extremes. See, if you only focus on stretching your muscles all the time, you might get to a point where you have hypermobile joints, and that causes instabilities and weaknesses in the joints. But on the other hand, if you just focus on strengthening your muscles and creating hypertrophy in your muscles, then that might lead to stiffness and to a lack of flexibility and to tightness in your muscles and joints. And in either of these scenarios, we usually cause more wear and tear in the joints. Because if you just put more muscle mass, then you lose flexibility. And if you don't have enough flexibility in certain joints, your body has to compensate for it. Let's say you don't have enough flexibility in your ankle joint. Whenever you're walking or when you do squats, you have to compensate by turning the knee in and out and the hip internal or external rotation and all these things. And you might not get into extension in the hip well enough anymore. And the lack of getting into the end ranges of motions in those joints are what causes more wear and tear. You know, use it or lose it. If you don't use it well enough, then you will lose it. And on the other hand, if you don't focus on strengthening your joints, but if you are super hyper flexible and whenever you extend your leg, you kind of you overextend the knee, or you overextend the hip, or your back gets into like these extreme positions, right? And you don't have any muscles, especially like the deeper muscles, to control that movement and to hold you from getting too far into the end ranges, then that might cause more wear and tear as well. So in both of these extreme scenarios, you will cause more wear and tear. But optimal function of the joints and the least wear and tear is when you are in that sweet spot of just enough flexibility and just enough strength in the joints. Then you have a better alignment in the joints, and that causes more stability overall in your body, while you have enough flexibility to not having to compensate in those positions. But we often can get addicted to the feeling of that stretch or the feeling of the pump of the muscles. And I've been there too. We sometimes just like doing things that we are good in because we feel more confident in those, and we forget and negate the things that we are not good in, right? And when I at some point thought, maybe, to get rid of my joint pains, I just need to get as flexible as possible, and then my body won't compensate that much anymore. And I was just focusing on that all the time. I at some point realized, oh, this is getting me to have more instabilities in the joints actually. And when I was like running or doing all kinds of more complex movements, I was like, wow, like this is not what it's about. I feel like very unstable here right now, and it actually caused me to have more pain in my joints. And on the other hand, when I after that thought it's all about getting as strong as possible and building as much muscle mass as possible, and that will take all the strain of my joints, I at some point realized that caused more stiffness, and I was losing the mobility in certain joints, and that caused me to compensate more in other joints as well. So I lost mobility in my ankle joint, for example, and that caused me to internally rotate my knee more and my hip more, and so I was losing the optimal functions in those joints. So if you tend to go into either of these extremes because you just don't feel comfortable doing the opposite, right? then just try to find a way to get more knowledge and more familiar with, the opposite, meaning, when you stretch all the time, just try to, look up more strengthening exercises and try them out so you get more confident and comfortable doing those. And you might then, if you're a girl and you never go into the weight room because you think it's just guys and I don't even know what to do there, then you might, when you learn more about that, you might get to a point where you're like feeling more comfortable to actually going there. And I'm sure the guys will appreciate that if you do that, if you go to the weight room as well. And you might even be able to show them some new exercises, right? And then on the other hand, for guys, if, oftentimes guys, they don't want to go into a yoga class because they think, I'm going to embarrass myself because I'm just like not flexible enough. And if I go there, then, I will struggle like in simple positions that the girls can get into easily, Same there, try to find out where you have your, lack of flexibility in your joint, and try to work on those, maybe even before that, warm up or, prepare yourself, and then you go into a yoga class and you might not, feel that uncomfortable anymore because you are actually able now to withstand the certain positions better than before. And I'm sure the girls will also appreciate that when they see, a strong buff guy actually going there and feeling comfortable doing all these asanas or these different positions. So try to throw in some of the other stuff if you tend to go more into an extreme, and that will help you to have the least wear and tear in your joints so that you can have more sustainable health in your joints and overall to rebalance your body.